All right, you've been listening there to CMPD Chief Kerr Putney answering some questions from members of the media, and it appeared some questions from city staffers as well as follow-ups, but basically talking about what his version is, Erica, of what happened that night, saying, I didn't like what I saw. I can't wait until I can say more, talking about those body camera video. But as Mayor Villalis said earlier today, they've got to go through a legal process just to look at those. So he's kind of saying there's a lot we don't know about officers' actions.
Yes, he said that there are a number of videos from different angles that people likely have not seen. He did say, though, that if laws have been violated, there will be accountability. If protocols have been violated, there will be accountability. He also said, when asked who made that call to take that action against protesters last night, Chief Putney said, ultimately, it starts with me. So they are saying that more information will be forthcoming, and they want to get it out to the public as soon as they can. So we will continue to update you on what we learn from that. Now we switch to live pictures as leaders continue to try to foster peace in our community. Mayor Villalis a short time ago announced this community conversation would be held, and it's starting now. Just announced about within the past hour to 90 minutes. The city's government center is where they're gathering. Government officials saying they want to hear from people after days of protests, and then they want to hear from people with new questions about the CMPD tactics used last night uptown. All the protests really started yesterday peacefully, thousands of people marching through uptown, but then night fell and violence started. Police saying that people started throwing fireworks and water bottles at officers. But then new controversy came as some video from the ground and from Chopper 9 Sky Zoom showed officers appearing to close off this group of protesters, blocking them on both sides of the street. Officers then firing pepper bullets, and the protesters had no clear exit. Some of them were forced to run and break through to go through a parking garage to try to get cover. Thanks for staying with us, everyone, for our coverage. I'm Erica Bryant.
And I'm Scott Wickersham. Again, you're watching Eyewitness News at 6 o'clock. It has been certainly a busy afternoon. So let's recap for you. In just the past 15 minutes, as you saw the end of it there, Chief Kerr Putney giving an update on what happened after announcing the State Bureau of Investigation will review the department's actions last night to see if any laws were broken. CMPD says there is nothing to indicate whatsoever that there was any intentional abuse by officers. Now, this afternoon, Charlotte City Council actually met in an emergency closed-door session for about 4 hours to talk about that police response last night. Afterward, Mayor Villalis saying there are no words to describe what happened, but she did say we're better than this. Well, moments ago, again, Chief Putney calling on the video, the body camera video, to be distributed. I want to go to our reporter, Glenn Counts. Now, I hope and get to hear what the chief said there, but it almost feels like he thinks there's a bit of a rush to judgment here. He wants the body camera video out, Glenn, but that's got to go through a process.
Well, I think the headline here, Scott, is that he says what he saw on that video is disturbing. But I think it's really sort of unclear in terms of exactly what he meant. Rob Tafano, who was there, was trying to get him to clarify his answer a little bit there, because what he was saying, you know, he wanted the whole story to get out, but he was also then at the same time talking about how disturbing it looked. So I'm not sure if what he's saying is that his officers performed badly in this situation, or if he is saying the opposite of that. And that's the reason that he really wants that video to get out. But as you heard, he is mentioning that that the department is going to seek to get a judge to release the body-worn camera video so that we can get the whole story here. And so this is what Putney had to say.
I just don't like the way it looks. I wish it told the full story. I just don't like how it looks. And it flies in the face of where we are morally as an organization. Because our goal is to allow for lawful protests. However, what is missed sometimes is when violence occurs and property damage occurs, it's no longer a lawful protest, it's a riot.
Well, one of the other things that you've heard being circulated is a number of critics have called for the department to stop using chemical dispersal agents. Putney's answer to that was the alternative looks a lot worse and is a throwback to the 50s and 60s when you had officers using nightsticks to beat the crowd to get people to disperse. Now, for more on the city's reaction to this, our Joe Bruno, who was in on the mayor's comments.
Thank you, Glenn. Yeah, let's talk about the city's response now. City Council had a 3-hour closed session. Actually, it was a little longer than that. And one of the things that came out of it is the desire to engage more with the community. So that's what you're seeing behind me here is a couple dozen people who are set to talk with Mayor Vilisle, City Manager Marcus Jones, as well as a couple city council members. Now, one thing that the mayor did say in her press conference today is that there will not be a protest tonight. She said that she believes that there will not be a curfew tonight. She believes that curfews impose on the rights of protesters. She's just asking that anybody who chooses to protest tonight be peaceful, but she said she did not want to put that restriction in place at this time, even though cities including Raleigh and Greensboro, other cities across the country are putting in that curfew. But she is hoping that the SBI will have a speedy investigation of this. She wants the chemical agents use by CMPD to be reviewed as well. She also said that she does not think that chemical agents should be used for crowd control. Back to you.
Yeah, Joe, she has held firm, and I know you've asked her this question a lot of times about a curfew, and she said again today, I just don't feel that that is necessary. We'll see if that trend holds. Now, the video I want to show it to you that went viral last night. This is from the ground. What you're seeing here is protesters with really trapped in on both sides by tall buildings, and then they had officers on either end who were firing off tear gas and they say in the video pepper balls as well. So they had nowhere to go at this point. And a lot of people saying they just don't understand what justified that action. Why did they do that at that point? Channel 9's Ken Lemon is joining us now from 4th Street. That's where that video actually took place.
And we know, Ken, that you had the chance to talk to some of those protesters who say they just didn't know what to do. They said at the time all this happened, they were not harming officers. They were not being violent.
They weren't at all. According to them, they tell me that what they went through was a night of chaos and a night of terror at the hands of police. Right here, all of them hurtled into this area right here in this one block, and it was captured on video.
They've thrown out tear gas.
You can hear the explosions going off, and the moment protesters realized they were stuck.
It's already happening.
QC Nerve captured this Facebook Live. Mario Black, a local community youth leader, was also recording and stunned.
It was too much for us.
It all happened at about the same time that CMPD tweeted officers were preparing to issue more dispersal orders and that they were hit by protesters throwing bottles. Black and several others say the crowd was loud and frustrated, but not physically harming officers.
Hands up, don't shoot. Chant. Unimaginable experience and feeling.
Black said he was trying to get back to his car, but police had protesters blocked.
We're trapped here. They're up top shooting at us.
Several of them forced open the gate of the parking garage and ran inside for cover. Scores of them rushing in, some were wounded.
There are people injured here. They're not sending help at all.
We saw those who say they forced their way past officers on bikes, running with flashbangs exploding behind them. Mario Black said he was in that group. The journalist for QC Nerve escaped through the parking garage. They had the same questions.
I have no idea what justified that use of force.
I'm still trying to gather my thoughts as to why.
And Mario Black told me despite what happened last night, if there are protests, he will be back out again tonight. Back to you.
Well, Ken, before you go, right there in that same spot, you saw just a few protesters taking a stand in the face of an overwhelming line of officers. Describe that particular part of this for us.
Yeah, and that happened several minutes after the incident here. It happened, I want to take you right down the street, right up there near the intersection of Tryon Street, and that was the first steps that we saw in police sweeping down Tryon Street, arresting people as they went. Officers in tactical gear were holding batons. They stepped in, and a crowd of about 60 people dispersed. Those four stood there with their fists in the air, unarmed, facing officers. That lasted roughly about 2 minutes. Police warned that their stand was considered unlawful assembly because they said they were impeding traffic. They moved in, police did, and they arrested a man standing near them. The four quickly left the area. Now, as that one man who was arrested, as he was taken off, he looked over at me and he said, "This is what happens when you peacefully protest, Erica."
right, so we are hearing a lot of different version scenarios of what happened out there. And again, I guess we'll wait to hear the results of that investigation too. Thank you, Ken.